All right, boys and girls, it's another day, another dollar. Obviously, I hyped the last video as like I was gonna get a ton done, but then I got bogged down by changing over those drivers yesterday and all of the associated stuff with the transmission selector shaft bushing. But that was a great discovery for me. Like, this thing just shifts awesome now. It's finally going to shift the way I want. You know, the reverse lockout works correctly. Like, it smoothly goes into fifth gear. Like, everything is just like perfect. Okay. And I think a lot of times with the Saab 900, people have this idea that the Saab 900 has this reputation as being a bad transmission, that somehow it's a flawed transmission, and that way, for that reason, they should be okay with kind of imperfect shifting. But I don't think that that's true at all. I think it's a great transmission that should work perfect. It should just be snicky, click, 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 perfect, okay? And a lot of problems that you think are a transmission problem are actually adjustment problems, okay? But without further ado, let's get started. I'm just gonna do some really easy stuff and get that out of the way and put this air conditioning pulley onto the crank pulley because I need to do it. And I don't know, maybe we'll dress it up a little bit. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but we're gonna get that on just so that we're prepared to put belts on at some point soon. Again, this came from Saab Parts Pro, Rose and Ithaca. It's almost like this AC pulley was really an afterthought, you know? Wow, okay. Look at the condition of the rubber in there. Holy smokes. Bad. Just because I'm that guy, I'm gonna give this a couple minutes in the evaporust. Maybe it'll loosen some of that off. My evaporust is pretty much down for the count at this point. It has lost its efficacy, but what the hey. Okay, I'm gonna get a little bit of paint on these drive shafts to get them ready for assembly later. I'm just gonna paint selectively. Man, these drive shafts I've been at this a long time. I'm also just gonna do a little workshop organization. I need to kind of help myself organize my thoughts, get the shop clean before I'm gonna kind of climb the summit on the front end, which I'm gonna do today. Today is gonna be a really big day, and I can't do it if my workspace is too cluttered. So I'm gonna get all my takeoff parts, kind of put in one area. Man, this steering rack, that came off a long time ago for those of you that have been around watching this progress. If I would have known what I was doing when I started, holy smokes, probably wouldn't have started. But okay, while we're waiting for that paint to dry on the drive shafts, we're gonna let that pulley soak a little bit more in the evaporust. We're gonna start putting these front uprights together again. Pretty sure that the little tiny screws have actually been, for the dust shields, have been hanging out in this evaporust for a while. Long time they've been in the evaporust, waiting for this moment. There we go. And of course, we're gonna be putting a little bit of the silvery goodness on these because we don't want any corrosion creeping in here. I'm going to also do one other thing, and I'm going to put a little tiny bit of grease, black grease, on the back of these holes to keep moisture from hopefully getting in there and creep. Now it is time to press in the wheel bearings, which I have what looks to be a pretty old box from Schaeffler. Let's see here. Does it have anything indicating the date of manufacture at all? No. You can get this bearing from a bunch of people. I've used Timken before also. Interestingly, these are made, it's the Fog brand. It's made in Slovakia. Now, we've got a choice to make. We can press it either way. Okay, we can go, I think the easiest way, I honestly believe you can press it in either direction. You've got an easier, flatter surface on the other side, so I think we'll do that. So let's get some snap rings in. Now here also is a place where a lot of corrosion is gonna happen, so I'm just gonna put a tiny bit of Never Sees also around the outside of the snap ring. See, I've got actually good snap ring pliers on the ID, but these beautiful Japanese ones that I like, I've trying to acquire the rest of the set for the Odie, and Japan is saying no. All right, so we've got that in there. The crux of the Saab 900, obviously, for the uninitiated, is that the dust shield needs to be on before you press in the hub, because it's captive inside of there. You can't remove the dust shield, obviously, without removing the hub, which I learned the hard way one time. You need to have the correct 74 millimeter diameter tool to press this. Just using very, very light pressure. It does not go in hard at all. Almost there. Almost there. Now I think we're there. Now we're there. Let's just check that quick. Perfect. We didn't kill it against the snap ring either. Absolutely perfect fit. Next one. All right, let's come in and get the other snap rings on. Again, just dab at them a little bit here. This car probably will never again be driven enough miles to wear out these bearings, but you never know. And might as well think about the future. You never know. Next step, we're going to press the hub on. I'm going to support it here. It's not on the studs. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to press with this smaller diameter right here on the inside of the... This is going to be my arrangement to press the hub. Okay, looking good. I know from past experience that the backside of the hub ends up flush, below flush with the bearing, so you can cover the entire surface of the bearing. All right, now if you look right here, see how this is below the flush there. At this point, I'm going to call this AC pulley good, and it's, you know, nice and clean, and we're going to install that on the... All right, let's get in here and get this on here. Pray to God that Saab didn't have any more than one variant of this. This looks good. It pilots on there, that's nice. Now, a little crunchy in there. I've been guessing this AC was taken off quite some time ago, which is really sad. Like, you could have just fixed it, but you didn't, guys. But you didn't. And look at how much work it is for me to deal with it, to put it back on the car. I need every part of the car to work. All right, something, gosh darn it. I'm missing something, aren't I? Is that supposed to be... Hang on, this can't be right. This has to be spaced out. Hold on. All right, what I've decided to do is I'm gonna mock up all of the belts and make sure the belts fit correctly before I put this piece on and commit to it, okay? Let's do that. All right, so first of all, let's put these alternator belts on. Okay, so I've got the alternator belts on there. I don't know if you guys can tell, but my concern and the reason why I'm doing this is that, see how the AC pulley kind of encroaches into the V slot for the power steering belt? I'm just a little bit worried that it's not going to be wide enough to get the belt on after I tighten that down on there, but it's the same idler pulley that, you know, came with this pulley. There's no spacers or anything in there, so it must be, but let's just mock this up quick. I need to remove all the tensioning brackets off of the old power steering pump. This is a really nicely designed system that Saab has here for this. Oh. Okay, so hang on. What do we got going on here? You want to work from the inside out, because you know what? Once we have that steering rack on here, everything we're doing with these belts becomes more of a pain. So there we go. This belt is what they sent me for the power steering. Hopefully it works. Oh, it's the perfect size too. There are not many sizes that work for this, I know from experience. Okay, at this point I now have the confidence to come in here and tighten these up. Oh, no, it is pinching. Come on. No. No. I have to put spacers in there. No, that's not right. I've got to put some spacers in there. God damn it. You see what the problem is here? Basically, this pulley is pushing on the power steering belt, so I need to space this out somehow. A little bit. Oh my God, this sucks so bad. But I think I'm gonna have to change that crank pulley, which is on the car, for this crank pulley. If you look at this right here, okay, the height of this surface is over the height of this V-belt flange, okay, by probably a 1/16 of an inch. And if you look at, come on, this one, it is recessed by probably 1/8 of an inch. So, you know what? Maybe I'll just stick some washers on there. I think that shoulder, I think, will be deep enough if I space it with washers. Okay, I don't love the condition of the other idler pulley, so I've made the executive decision that I am gonna try and space it out, but I need to go get some hardware. I opened my mailbox, and the only piece of mail I have in here is from the Saab Club of North America. Holy crap. I have finally installed this AC pulley with enough clearance between the belt. So, and I did not have to swap out the entire pulley. I found a very slight shim that I can use, but still have the pilot going inside there so it locates correctly. But I need to move on. This makes me hate the Saab 900. That right there is what makes you hate cars, because something that should have taken 3 minutes ends up taking 3 hours, okay? But you know what? I'm actually pretty pleased with the alignment of the pulley with the tensioner. Yeah. You know what, here's what I'm gonna do while I've still got it fresh in my mind. I got some hardware for the compressor. I'm gonna stick some hardware in there quick and just see how everything lines up. Look what I'm gonna use for the very first time, the tight reach, flexible extension clamp. I'm gonna hold this nut right here. First of all, let me get this Koken double swivel on there. Then I'm gonna hold this over here. Come on. Nope, I need a slightly different angle to it. All right, we'll leave them loose. I'm not gonna continue because after putting this belt on, we can see that we are not in line. I am gonna have to space that way over. All right, without further ado, let's build some axles. Let's start with the tripod end. So let's get these on here first. Okay. And then let's put on a new tripod bearing that flies on there, sails on there. Oh no. No, they don't fit. God damn it. No. Oh, no. So the tripod end of the drive shaft is smaller on the old one, which means I now have to tear apart this other used drive shaft. God damn it. Oh, I fucking hate Saab. God, just get the longer one built, and then we'll come back and build the shorter one once I tear that one apart, okay? So then we put tripod bearing on. Actually, I'm gonna never seize that also. Bear with me. Actually, we're just gonna grease it, okay? Get some grease on the inside of there. Many places where things can go wrong in a project like this. Now I've got a snap ring on there. Good. All right, let's turn our attention to the other end. Let's get, Jesus, no, I put the wrong boot on. Oh man, I'm really not thinking. Good. I've got the wrong boot on that end. So let's go ahead and take off that boot and stick the inner boot on. The inner boot goes on that end. See, I almost screwed it up again. I need to just cut it. I'm in a rush and I'm making mistakes because I'm in a rush and I shouldn't be doing that. Got a boot on there. Now, we've got this drive shaft is as good as a paperweight for me. All right, so now let's come over here and get one of these beautiful new old stock pieces on here. All right, but we're gonna jam a whole bunch of this grease in there, okay? That GKN gives you. Got that off, and so before I even insert it, I'm actually gonna just pack it in here, okay? We're just gonna pack it in. These things have been sitting around for a long time, just waiting for me to use them. Yeah, you can hear the air burp out of there. Okay. Yeah, good. Good. Now these just click on, okay? All right. So, yeah, you pretty much just, now, let me go change a glove quick, hold on. Now we just basically get that in there, and it clicks into place. Okay, there we go. And that, my friends, is now basically ready to put on the car, okay? But we're gonna go and pack the other end also, okay? Gonna go pack the other end. Got that whole packet in there. You can see, look at the balls have grease all over them. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna wait to put the clamps on these. So now I'm literally back to square one with this other drive shaft. This is again one of the ones that I had acquired from Rose in Ithaca. I'd look at the inside of this thing. Holy crap. What a mess. What a mess. Okay, so I have liberated the drive shaft that I was absolutely not going to use, but this sets me way back. All right, I used the heavy duty wire brush in order to take the rust off this. Now I'm gonna have to get some paint on it quick. I'm up against the clock. All right, while we wait for this Take 2 drive shaft to dry, let's go get a couple other pieces onto the suspension. Just keep the ball moving forward. You know what? Let's get some of this nice looking zinc plated hardware on here perhaps. One less thing to do. Let's get these tightened up. Now we can just come over here and all right, and now I'm going to come in and actually torque these. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is, I'm going to have to leave this project for another couple days, you know, so it's just after sunrise. I'm out here in the garage drinking a coffee. Great time to be alive. I feel really lucky to be out here on a Monday morning doing this. But yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Let's get this other, you know, I kind of had this objective of leaving this weekend with the front suspension more or less put together. I am going to fall short of that, but hopefully we can at least get, you know, the uprights on, maybe even the springs on. I don't think the steering rack is going to be in the cards, but we'll see what we can do. If you're very careful, you can take like a 30mm socket and slide the rollers out slightly, and it'll fit in there, and it'll let you give a good place to tap on to drive that in or press it in. All right, that is clicked in. Excellent. Excellent. All right, let's get some clamps on. Probably could have put these on first, but I didn't, because I knew I was going to be adjusting them anyways, so let's give that a crimp and see how that goes. Good. So I can just kind of see if you right, just want to squeeze that down a tiny bit. The extra CV grease, so I've decided I'm just gonna fill some more into the boots before they are permanently closed. So why the heck not? Like, think about the amount of effort that I've had to put into these drive shafts. If this was a Porsche, this would just be like, click, you'd get a complete assembly, it would be done, it would be OEM. If it was anything else, that's why at some point in the future I've decided there's a Czechoslovakian car called the Tatra that really, really interests me. And I would like to go to Czechia and source a Tatra. If any of you guys are in Europe and you have any connections, I don't want a perfect one. I want a fixer-upper. I think it's the 603 maybe, the one from the 70s, 60s and 70s, rear engine flat V8, flat 8-cylinder. That I think will be like Saab, right? Where every single piece is something that you're sorting. I have 3 different greases in my inventory. I've got the one you've seen, the Amsoil synthetic polymer grease. That's gonna have a lot of moly in it. I've got the Paragon 3000, which is doesn't say a lot about it other than superlatives about its performance. And then we've got this Molygraph, multi-purpose grease, extreme pressure. It has graphite in it. So because of the way that the rollers are rolling in there, I think I'm gonna try this Moly. All right, this is gonna be a really messy job, but I'm first going to just pack these rollers as much as I can right here. Pack these needle bearings. Because I don't know how effective this system is going to be at getting grease actually propagated. Ooh, the smell of this grease is something to behold, that's for sure. God. All right, got that kind. If you think about it, back in the old days, everybody knew how to pack a bearing. You'd go back to the 40s or 50s. If you went on a road trip, what would you do? Dad would go out and repack the bearings before you went on a road trip, While we're at it, I'm just gonna get all of this. We're gonna use an entire tube of this on these 2. Come on. Unfortunately, I took my grease gun to my other place. All right, come on out of there. I'm gonna take my hand and I'm gonna glob a bunch of this into here. Okay. Just gonna put a big old glob in there. I'm definitely gonna get it all over the exhaust so it smokes me out when one day when I actually turn this thing on. All right, there we go. I'm gonna grab this, the longer of the 2, and I'm gonna put it in there. Okay. And I'm gonna just try and wipe off. Whoa, no. Last night I sprayed some more rubberized undercoating in this tunnel because I knew it was gonna be my last chance. At this point, I'm actually going to get these ball joints out and I'm gonna put them on. One of the things that I'm kind of, I don't love about Lemforder. First of all, I know why they give you this jam nut for over here, but that's not the way Saab designed it. And I don't like it. I'd like to have more nut, but that's what's there. The other thing is that the picture on the website that sells you this always includes the bolts, and of course, you do not get the bolts with this kit. And the only bolts you can get are these MTC bolts. which I have very little confidence in the provenance of these bolts. Then they loosen up over time. Now what I'm going to do, because I've been down this road before, is I'm just going to take this area where these ball joints are going to fit in right here. It kind of never sees them a little bit. All right, let's try and get this in here. Probably be a lot easier when things aren't covered by rust. Get some bolts on the bottom. Just the slight impact. Look at how beautiful this is with these urethane PowerFlex bushings with the grease. It's just beautiful. All right, now that we feel pretty good about things over here, let's get these clamps on. And this one. Okay, now we're going to attempt to install the new spring. It's always, but the thing to keep in mind, this has to be where the end coil is, so get it kind of in the right rotation, and then as I recall, I needed to, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have had this brake line here, because I can come right in here with it from that side. Let's try that. All right, so I've got it kind of, so I'm going to be putting it in with the tool on the right side like this. Let's see if it works. To like 11 something. I'm still at 12. You have to have some healthy respect for this. I don't have the angle right. Okay, so I do not have this angle right. I can't get it. I need to rotate it. God damn it. Jeez. Now you can see what I got there. I've got the end of the spring aligned right there. Okay, so I didn't get this on video, but really the only sensible way is to put the tool actually to the rear like this, okay? Spring on this side I installed perfectly the very first time. Second time's a charm. I just put on these shock absorbers, which now that I've got everything looking so beautiful under here, I'm like, do I really want to keep using these used shock absorbers? Maybe I'll get some of these Bilsteins or something, but God, I used like 10 different tools in order to install the shock absorber on this side. A magnet, a long pair of pliers, a ratchet with tons of extensions. It's took a lot of doing, but all right, now let's think. I've got a little bit of time left. I think what I'm gonna do is install this AC evaporator because I think I'm gonna have to remove, I wanna get serious with the power steering, get that all installed so that I'm ready for the rack, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to get that evaporator in without taking out this, so I'm gonna get that out of here. My collection of parts over here is getting pretty small. Actually, I've changed my mind. I'm gonna pivot. We're gonna look at the brakes before we get into the power steering, and I just wanna make sure I'm kind of in a good place with everything with the brake calipers, okay? Just gonna use my tool to make sure that I'm fully retracted, right? I'm just gonna mock this up. I'm going with the ATE Textar brakes. Hopefully I've got the right ones. Bro Parts Sweden to the rescue! But you know what, man? Beggars can't be choosers. Saab enthusiasts, we are the beggars. All right. These clips over here, what are you doing? All right, so you go on like that. Luckily, I've got this old one fully assembled, or I might actually have to read a manual. And you know I hate doing that. All right, we're just gonna have to sadly cover up the zinc plating, the beautiful hub. Kind of put this on all the moving parts, okay? So here, we're just gonna take this back off temporarily. And, gosh. And I'm gonna put it all over in there. All over in there. A little bit on there, why not? All right, let's put, you know what, where I'm gonna use some grease is on this thing right here. I'm gonna use some of this grease. That looks like a good place for some grease. And then, this goes in here. But, okay, here's the key point. You have to have this parking brake piece in the slot while you slide the whole assembly in, you know, and then you slide it into it in these guides, right? That's the only way. Now we're in a position to finally assemble this deal, okay? Finally, this is the last time I'm taking it apart. I am done. Done. All right, I have what I believe is a complete, correct right-hand caliper, and I'm gonna attempt to install it on the car, okay? $100 on this little thing, but it's kind of worth it. All right, boys, and here you have it. End of the episode. Just behold that. Look at that. The beauty. The details. Yeah. Hey, peace out. Thank you for watching, every one of you guys.